I bring all these folks up here on one today. I got with me on stage U.S. Attorney Jerome Gorgon, acting special agent in charge of the FBI, Ruben Gleeman here, Grand Blanc Chris Swanson, and MSP, Michigan State Police Captain Greg Marenko. I'm going to provide an update from the incident that we spoke about earlier today. Later today, our officers' response. That call came out at 10:25 seconds. We had officers on scene at 10:25 and 57 seconds. The suspect, again, we're in the preliminary stages right now, was neutralized at 10:33:44 in the parking lot of that church. That suspect is a 40-year-old male from the city of Burton, who we identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford. That's Thomas Jacob Sanford, Sanford. Currently, we're an update. I gave you 10 victims who were victims of gunshot. Since then, we have 2 victims who are now deceased. One additional one had died at a local hospital. And again, that suspect is deceased as well. 7 other victims at this time are in stable condition. 1 is in critical condition. Now, for the reunification, I had a question earlier about, hey, where can people call to see if their loved one is okay at the reunification center? I want to provide a number for you for that. It's 248-705-7352. Also, I know that our community is hurting right now, and we want to provide some resources for our community moving forward. At the Genesis Athletic Club in Grand Blanc for Monday and Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., we will have services for the community. From Wednesday to Friday, those services will be available to our community at the Grand Blanc Senior Center. That's all I have for now. I will give you another update, another press conference at 8 p.m. Thank you.
All right, that was Chief William Rennie of the Grand Blanc Police Department updating us on the information about this shooting that took place in Grand Blanc, Michigan. He said the call came out around 10:25 a.m. and officers were on scene there at the shooting the same minute. He said the suspect, who's now identified as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, was neutralized at 10:33 in the parking lot of that church. That's just 8 minutes after the call was made, as well as 8 minutes after we're told officers were on scene. He went over again the people who were injured. We know that there were 10 victims of gunshots, 2 victims who are now deceased. The second died later at an area hospital once that person was transported there. And we also know that the suspect was killed after a shootout with police officers. Again, 7 others are in stable condition. 1 victim is still in critical condition. And we're being told that several resources for communities are being set up all around the area in Grand Blanc right now, Michigan. I want to bring back in our Olivia Rubin here, who's our investigative reporter. Olivia, can you just talk to me now, basically, the information that we were just given from Chief Rainey over there? What's the latest in terms of the information that we're given right now in this investigation?
Well, very critically, he just identified the suspect, right? Thomas Jacob Sanford was the name given. We know that that's a 40-year-old, they said, from an area nearby to where this occurred. Male, of course, now deceased. And what you can bet right now, Ike, is that there is a furious investigation into this individual right now among officers. You can probably assume they are already at this individual's home. They might be at the home of his parents, perhaps his friends, family, coworker, classmates, boss, anyone calling them, trying to figure out exactly what would have motivated this individual, if accurate, to go to this church and commit this horrific act of violence. Did he have any sort of connection to the church? Did he have any sort of connection to anyone who attended this church? Was it completely random? What happened to this individual to drive them to this place? What was going on in their own life? When I speak to experts, a lot of times what happens to these individuals is they are sort of radicalized and put down this violent path somehow online, on the internet. Was that the case here? Was, he totally on his own? Were there others involved? There are an endless amount of questions. I could sit here for 10 minutes with you and ask different questions that investigators are likely working through right now. I think most key there, of course, is the motive. Was there, again, why this church? And so that's definitely top of mind for investigators right now. I would also point out there was no update there on anyone from inside of the church. Remember what we heard at 1 o'clock or whatever the time was, it's been a long day, when officials first briefed, was that they expected to have more victims because of the fire at the church, right? We didn't hear that mentioned just now. Does that mean that they didn't find anyone else? Are they still working on that scene because it took them quite a bit of time to get the fire out? We know from sources there was a partial collapse at the building. So again, you heard them talking about family members, reunification. That's top of mind for the community right now. Was there anyone still left in the building? Were they able to get anyone out? Were they able to get everyone out? And how many people might still be in there, if anyone?
All right, so many questions still left to be answered, Olivia Rubin. I want to turn now to Robert Boyce. Robert, what are the next steps in an investigation like this?
I think it's going to be a deep dive of Mr. Sanford, and that's where they're going right now. And remember, you have the FBI, the ATF there as well as state services as well. So all those databases being put into play. They got to run that rifle, Ike, and see where it came from, how long he got it, how long he owned it, and was he proficient in it? Because these things all matter when you pull these things up. People want to know, even though it's a closed-end investigation as far as him, he's dead. But we don't know if there's anybody else who knew about this. So they'll go through his devices, his phone, his computer, any written notes, family and friends, all these things to paint a picture of this individual, to see where this came from. Because it came out of the blue, as unfortunately other things do. They come out of the blue. But now you're going forward, exactly what the lady said before, is that we don't know if they've recovered anybody else from inside. And the ages of the victims. One woman earlier said that there was children in there. We don't know that yet. So I was hoping the chief would take some questions exactly on that. But by now they usually have a list of those injured people. And also, I understand not naming the people who deceased, but the injured people, exactly the ages. That's what you're looking for in these things.
Hi, thank you. So what you just saw was a news snippet on what had happened this morning, over at the Michigan Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Church. That happened earlier this morning, and the guy decided that he's just going to get up and get in his truck and go ram through a church and open fire and then set the place on fire. 2 people have passed away. 8 others are being treated. They're in stable condition. And this all happening right after our prophet passed away last night after 10 o'clock. Actually, the oldest prophet in all of the church history passed away, and he was 101 years old. Many people are mourning today over the loss of our prophet. And on top of that, this tragedy happened to an entire community in Michigan, a small city in Michigan. Grand Blanc was the name of it, in Flint, right outside of Flint. And basically, the dude, we don't know the motives or anything like that. He is no longer here on this earth. He cannot hurt anybody else ever again. And this, is something that, Trump, he's putting 100 people out, the FBI agents, to go and work on this case. As people, I'm just reading this, as people in his congregation got word of the shooting from texts and phone calls during their own Sunday service, the church went into lockdown, and police came as precaution, he said. His children were frantically just trying to get word that people were okay. Sundays are supposed to be a time of peace and a time of reflection and worship. Yet in the wake of violence at other houses of worship across religions, a shooting feels inevitable and all the more tragic because of that. So that was the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and she is just saying that, violence anywhere, especially in a place of worship, is unacceptable. And we cannot normalize this. We hear it, and it's just like, okay, another shooting, and eventually it hits home. And it's to the point where, we have to fight. We have to push back. We have to be diligent on precautions and anything to take, and having drills and knowing what to do when this happens, having more security, and at a place of worship where you go and you feel safe, and you go and you're connecting with God, and with others in your community, and to go and have something like this just happen, it's unfathomable. It is. And people, when you go over to Australia or you go over to England, where they have gun laws, and they don't, there's that situation where they have gun laws and they don't have the violence that we have. However, now in Florida, maybe other states, I'm not actually sure, but we have the open carry now. And the thing that I'm thinking of is now, looks like that's going to have to be like a definite must. And you have to fight fire with fire. It's at what point can we just feel safe? At what point can we just go, you know what? Today is, I have my struggles and things like that, but, today's going to be a good day. And it's almost like if you don't have some kind of a tragedy like that, you're having a good day. That's what we've come to. Certain people in society have lost their freaking minds, and absolutely there's no return. And a lot of the people who do this kind of shit, they end up taking themselves out. So I don't know. These are the signs of the times. It's going to get worse. Honestly, it's going to get worse before it gets better. You can do all you can to spread the love around you, right within, get right with yourself and feel good about who you are, and then reach out to other people. The more love we spread, the less of this will happen. I think, I don't know. This was a very, very tragic event. I mean, like I said, we just lost our prophet. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint Church just lost their prophet last night. He passed away at the age of 101. Today, there was a horrific shooting at a Mormon church where people were there to worship. No one could have expected to look at pictures of a church on fire, completely ablazed. No one could even imagine that that's what you would ever see on a Sunday. When I went to church today, it was a great experience. I didn't hear anything about this because I, wasn't on my phone in church. And what was really talked about was, who our next prophet will be and how, we're strong as a church. Even there will be somebody to lead us, and they're led by God. I mean, and we all are. If we accept it, if we accept some kind of a higher power in our lives, we'll have half a chance to get out of here, feeling serene and feeling happy. This is the time where you go hug your family, and it's like, things are just things are really, really bad. I wanted to just go live today so that I could share that, and spread that awareness that it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. And this may be politically charged. I don't know. I really don't. I can only speculate on what I think. I don't even know. Maybe the dude doesn't even really know why he did it. But people don't just do things like that. You don't just, it was so carefully planned out. How do you get to that point where your mind is going into a place where, I'm just going to take a lot of people's lives out because I can, because I feel like it's my right. I don't understand how people can even get into that mind frame. It's beyond my understanding. And it's a really sick place where they are. If there's a hell, that dude's in it. And along with all the other people who've done these shootings to innocent people. All right. Well, everybody take care, and I will be talking to you soon.